Okay, I got the cue here to start, so we're gonna start with my presentation, and hopefully Justina can join us in the meantime. So as she mentioned before, I'm here to represent Bardzo Ładnie Foundation. And yes, we translate this as very nice or how lovely. It's a little bit tongue in the cheek name. And I'm just gonna quickly fly through what we're doing and who's doing it and why we're doing it. So it's gonna be like a quick 10-minute overview. So here you've got our mission statement in a very wise words. Basically, what we're trying to say that what drives us to our work is a need to create opportunities for different people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, experiences to meet and have a space to exchange their experiences, to experience something new together and reflect on that. And we hope that that will create a bigger tolerance and understanding of each other. And we've got three priorities, which is promoting Polish culture in Ireland, but also artistic education and supporting cultural dialogue. And I will talk a little bit about all three of them in a second. And so who is on our team? The core team at the moment, it's three of us. You can see it's on the picture on the left. So it's myself. I'm from Warsaw in Poland. I live also in UK for many years, and now for the last 5 years in Ireland. I'm an anthropologist, a culture manager, and also communication specialist, and that's the role that I'm working mostly now in Bardzo Ładnie. I love food, and I use that as well in my practice. I think that's a great way to bring people together. And then in the middle, we've got Iwona, which I should probably start with because she's a chairperson of Bardzo Ładnie, and the Bardzo Ładnie is her brainchild. Iwona is from Łódź, and she moved in to Ireland also around the same time as me, 5-6 years ago, and she basically decided that there should be a bigger access to Polish culture in Ireland because there wasn't that much. She is very experienced in working with the culture institutions. She worked in many of those in Poland and Ireland, and most recently she's on the board of directors of Galway 2020 in the Legacy Committee. And then we've got Joanna Siewierska, who is our wonder kid. So Joanna is a perfect example of this, that you don't have to live all your life in Poland to feel Polish. She moved here as a child, and now she speaks fluent Polish, English, and Irish. And her main interests are youth work, and she's just fantastic. We love her, and we believe that she will be a president of the world soon. Okay, so that's our team, and what we do, our team, we animate the culture through different channels, exhibitions, gatherings, discussions, lectures, you name it, we probably did it, mini festivals. And now I'll quickly run through some of our projects. So here, that's kind of how it started. So we started in 2015. The very first thing that we do, it was a Polish stand in Galway Food Festival, and that was happening over Easter. And so we showcase our beautiful Easter traditions. So we've got the picture there of this cute scout girl next to the cupboard with Polish cakes. And we repeat that next year after as well. We did the Independence Day with the Galway Museum, and also around this time we also did the Henryk Sienkiewicz festival that was showcasing his work in Galway. I'm running through this event very quickly because I would like to talk in a little bit more detail about a couple of them that I think will showcase a bit more about the cultural dialogue. And then we also did, for example, we brought over exhibition by cartoonist that it's probably most of people known in Poland from Psie Sucharki or Dog Biscuits, a very humorous website about dogs' life. And we also did a mini festival about Joseph Conrad with exhibition and a music session and talks and movie screenings. So as you see, we've got very varied repertoire, and I would like to put focus on three events that kind of show how we work. So first of all, it's play arts. So as I mentioned before, one of our priorities is arts education, and we especially do that with kids or children or young people because we believe that art develops a special sensitivity and tolerance and make you question the world around you, and probably and it's just beneficial to overall development of children. So we do workshops where we use different motifs of Polish culture, pop culture. So you can see here that we did some workshops with Polish cutouts, folk cutouts. You can see the rooster here, Polish cartoons, Polish art. When we were showing kids the most famous Polish painting, and they were doing funny collages with that. And so we all these workshops are both in Polish and English, so anyone can attend, not just Polish kids. And I think it's important because first of all, there is obviously a lot of Polish kids that were born here, and perhaps their language skills are not that good. So we don't want to intimidate them, and also we want to make sure that they can bring friends and enjoy with them these workshops. And we need to admit that they were very successful. We did them with Galway Museum, quite few of those sessions. Also for RTE, for a couple of their family events, and the Lexicon Library in Dublin. So then another project that we did that was in May, end of May 2017, it's Forest Days Festival. So the idea before the festival was to showcase Polish culture through our connection to forest, which I think it's quite obvious for Polish people, but not so obvious when you talk with anyone else. And why I chose this event to talk about in more detail is because that was the first kind of like Polish-Irish cooperation on such a scale. There was a series of events showcasing different aspects of Polish cultures and how they link to the forest. And we made sure that each of these events has somehow Irish participation. So on the picture, this is my favorite one, so that's the reason why you have probably the biggest pictures. On the big picture, you've got Dervla and Adam, two traditional singers. Dervla is Shano singer from Galway, and Adam Struk is a folk singer from Warsaw. And they sang together a cappella. Dervla was singing Shano songs in Irish, obviously, and he was singing in Polish. And you could think that that's have nothing to do, but then music doesn't know languages, and it was actually a beautiful event. And we did that in a local church with the beautiful acoustics and engagement from a Polish priest who is in this church. So it was a very moving event. And then we make sure that we're working with the local community. So on the top picture, you can see like a group picture. We did a family picnic and forest cleaning. That's a local forest in Galway. And there is a community group called Friends of Merlin Woods. And we cleaned the forest, and the people who brought the biggest bags of rubbish could win some prizes. We also had the lectures and about Polish and Irish folk around the forest, and the exhibition. We had students from Wrocław coming and talking about wooden architecture, and also cooking demos. What was the most surprising and rewarding in all these events, other than making a lot of Irish friends, it was also that it was a learning curve for us. When we start researching the preparation to the events, we realized that in Ireland, forest doesn't exist in the conscious in the way that it exists in Poland. That it's more as a sentiment of something that's gone, and especially in West Ireland. If when you think about the West Ireland landscapes, there is barely any trees, so it was kind of bringing something new and showing that we have a bit different soul, I would say. We were laughing during these events that we've got more wooden soul and they've got stone soul, because it's more about the stone and water in Ireland, I think. So as I say, for us, it was a great experience of building a relationship with the Irish communities and Irish partners. And the next event I would like to talk about, or next our activity, is integration through culture. And this is actually still happening at the moment. We started in September, and it will carry on until mid of December. So finishing soon, but still a chance to catch up. So this is mostly happening, this campaign happening over internet, from obvious reasons. And it's called integration through culture because we really believe that's the best way of integrating yourself. But also we would like to show that integration doesn't mean forgetting your culture and just submerging yourself in a new culture. It can also means uh, showing your own culture and being proud and trying to show, maybe find some common um, themes within the culture you grow in and live in. So this project, it's very important to mention that it couldn't happen without the support of Polish um, Minister of Foreign Affairs that funded this project, and this is a part of their kind of like a diplomacy project, uh, foreign diplomacy project. So this project is kind of, we have three parts to that. So there are exhibitions about certain topics of Polish culture that's supposed to be circulating around Irish institutions, cultural institutions. Obviously that didn't went to exactly to the plan, because as we started with our exhibitions, the lockdown, the level 5 happened again, so we have to stop that. But you can still see this exhibition from when are we moving to, in a couple of days, because we managed to put that there in Castle Bar, in Museum of Country Life, and in a couple of libraries in Midlands. And we're hoping that as we move to the less strict lockdowns and the institutions will be open, we can come back and carry on with these exhibitions. We've got also webinars. We already did 4 webinars, and we've got 2 more to go. So on Wednesday, actually, you've got chance to join if you want to. On Wednesday, we'll talk about again Joseph Conrad and his influences on the culture, on modern culture, and also on we have another webinar about Chopin, Frederick Chopin, and his music. So these webinars are very special for us because let us to bring Polish and Irish experts and use these motifs of Polish culture, folk art, music of Chopin, writing of Joseph Conrad, and just use that as a kind of like a starting point to like a wider reflections on literature or heritage, or how traditional art was done in Poland, in and Ireland. And then we also have a campaign over the social media that kind of like brings more information about this topic. So as I mentioned, yeah, so that's kind of like few posts from the social media. So that's integration to culture. And as I mentioned before, from like very early beginning, we make sure that we engage other institutions because the dialogue is so important for us, and we have a very great response. In Galway, everybody were very welcoming, and they were like, yeah, just exceeded our expectation. How helpful everybody are. Probably we'll have this conversation later with Justyna about this. So we work both with Polish institutions and Irish, and we really value this. Relationships that we develop over the last 5 years. Oh my god, that sounds like the time flies so fast. It's 5 years already. So yeah, that's shortly about Bardzo Ładnie. I obviously didn't cover all the events we're doing because we would be sitting here for probably another hour. But just to give you overview how we work, and so give you some background into our work, basically. So that's me on behalf of Bardzo Ładnie.
Thank you, Aga. That was very interesting to watch. And we have our connection restored. Unfortunately, internet in Ireland today, I know there are issues with the phone or something. So thank God we are back.
Yeah.
Now, thank you so much for that. I'm going to bring us into the different view so that we can be seen. Now, looking at it and looking at your presentation, Aga, it is amazing to see how well organized you are as an organization, and looking at your 5 years of work that you have developed, all those partnerships and all those, in a way, relationships with the very prominent institutions. And how did that happen? Tell me, who is in the organization? Who is doing essentially all that work? And what's your experience from those partners?
As I say, that the organization is a brainchild of Iwona Kwiek, and in a way we're happy that way that Iwona got amazing experience of working in cultural institutions in Poland. I'm not gonna advertising her CV, but she's got over 10 years experience there. She's anthropologist, she's got media experience, and she decided to use that to promote Polish culture in Ireland. And then I think, I don't know, I always feel bad, when I joined her, I think it was also very lucky that we both anthropologists, so we had this a common thinking about the world, and we get along very well. And then also I have experience in a project and event management, so we kind of fit that way. And then we've got Asia, who is absolutely a rocket of energy and connections, and she basically she will change the world. She's one of these young people who will change the world, and we're very happy that she's on the board and brings their energy. So in a way, that was the lucky coincidence that we met, all three of us. And obviously there is a lot of other people who were along the way, a lot of volunteers that contributed, yourself, that this kind of work wouldn't happen without hard work of many people. So that's one part. But also another part is just we're not afraid to go and say, hello, we are here, to people, and just knock the doors, because at the end, what's the worst that can happen? They will say no, and we're going to the point where we started. So I think in that way, that's what helped us to build these relationships. And as I say in the presentation, we the institutions are very, I don't know what's your experience, but our experience, maybe it's specific to Galway, but everybody were so welcoming. They were so interested in helping, hearing about Polish culture. So they almost as I say, you just need to say hello, and that just goes from there somehow.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this coincidences, but I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicity. So if the intention is out there, so things just happen, and that's my personal way of believing. But also there must be this organic interest and organic kind of believe that what you're doing is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So my experience in Limerick is with the institutions, it's also very positive, and they are very willing to support and work with you. Obviously, that the required, it's not like you just knock the door and it
Yeah,
opens.
obviously that was,
And very
metaphor,
it
shortcut.
doesn't
But
happen this way, because sometimes people have different kind of perception how it works,
yeah.
and they think just enough to knock the door and say
Well,
hello.
you knock the door, and then there was few months of hard work, and then the doors open. But
Yes, thank you. And Aga, it's very important that we stay clear on that, because there is a lot of different perceptions of how it works, and it's very important to acknowledge all the hard work of your organization and others organizations trying to do something in Ireland. So essentially, that's why I wanted Bardzo Ładnie to come to this meeting, just to share how beautiful things you're doing.
oh, thank
And
you.
also encourage people to take part in it, and the ethos and mission statement, the vision that is out there. And this is essentially what we are going to talk about today, is the intercultural dialogue. So whatever we are doing, either as any of the Polish organizations that are actually based in Ireland and that working for the promotion of the Polish culture and Polish and integrate, well, we are definitely working towards integration,
Yeah, for
rather
sure.
than promotion. So the
No, integration is at the heart of our work, because like I personally, even though in Ireland I live just 5 years, like I'm overall emigrated 15 years ago. Is it 15? 14 years ago, when we just joined the European Union. And I really appreciate that when I lived first in UK and now in Ireland, I really appreciate that these countries like took us on. Like you can imagine, like it's not easy to suddenly have people who like maybe not that different, but different culture. And I really appreciate that. And I think we own people that let us into their home, to their country, to try to understand them and integrate ourselves into the society. It doesn't mean that you have to stop being Polish, speak Polish, you're still Polish, but you're an active citizen. You should be an active citizen of the place that you live in, wherever it's Poland or Ireland or wherever someone wants to live next. And as it happens, culture and art, it's in my interest. And that's what I love to do, and that's what we love to do in Bardzo Ładnie. So we using this to, integrate ourselves. And as I say also before, like integration is also means showing who you are, not
absolutely.
locking yourself into the your little bubble, or it's go out and they say like, yeah, I'm Polish, I'm proud, and that's what it means to be Polish, without sound like
And I think the beauty of diversity, is the fact that we can learn so much from each other and not consider ourselves the citizen of Poland, the citizen of Ireland, or citizen of any other country, and just strip ourselves of nationalities, because at the end of the day, we have our heritage and we have our culture. But what is bringing towards the community that we live in is beautiful diversity of different points of view, different opinions, different maybe way of doing things. But it doesn't mean that different is wrong or different is any worse or any better. It's just different. And I believe by doing this, we're just inspiring people to open themselves up, and essentially exit the box of the frames
for
that we
sure.
are
Yeah.
built in, that this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. And be free in the way that we express ourselves, be free in the way that we lead our life, but learn from each other, support each
Sure,
other.
yeah, that's
And do not in a way judge because of the color of the skin, because of the way that somebody speaks, the tone of the voice, or whatever it is. From my experience, Polish people, they blend very well with the Irish, because we essentially share similar history.
Oh
Like
yeah, for sure there is, like, like, as every time you can, dwell on the differences, but you can also find many similarities. And I find it, like, as I say, I've got experience of living in UK and in Ireland, and I find it that I actually bonded with Irish people in 5 years more than with in UK with English people in 10 years, because I find it that, like, yeah, we do share a lot of, there is a lot of common threads through our history, from, like, fighting for your own country. We, in a way, both Poland and Ireland got the independence in the same year almost. So, from just this simple fact, like, obviously that you can forget about the Catholic Church, and just the way of being connected, the bit more rural culture, connected to the land in a much more like stronger way, I think, than in other cultures. So yeah, I find it. I actually quite, like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know much about Irish culture before I moved in, but I'm getting more and more fascinated by it. And more I learn about it, about the culture and history, more similarities I find. And it was so striking, even when on one of our webinars that was actually about the folk art, and we have a professor from Poland, and we have lady Claudia Doyle from Irish museum, from Museum of Country Life, and she actually went to Polish and Irish culture, and she finds similarities of, like, how you wave the baskets, or how you wear the shawls. Like, if you, I don't know, have you ever seen the, like, older ladies with the big scarves? She
yeah.
find the pictures of older ladies in Poland and Ireland that were doing basically the same, and she find, like, quite few examples of that. And that was so surprising, because when you think about this, we are kind of, like, on this opposite edges of the continent, so yet we share in common so much. So yeah, I think.
Well, I believe, like, I'm a strong believer of not dividing ourselves among nationalities or anything. I'm a strong believer that we share much more that you can even think of. First thing that we share is that we are all humans and we share the same emotions. But I understand where you're saying in 2014 we have done this beautiful project. Well, not project, the festivals around. And the whole festival, and Eva Partum, she's like the most prominent Polish artist in the body art sector and in the female art. So she was essentially in her good 70s when she actually visited us, and we had her exhibition in the Limerick City Gallery of Art. She was such an inspiration when she was saying how she was fighting with the regime in Poland that was happening at that time, which essentially was a communist, and how difficult it was for a woman to be even perceived as a human. And just think about it, artist. So women artists did not exist. And I believe there is so much that we share culturally between Irish and Polish people. And then when we had the exhibition, because essentially we had like 13 years of festivals behind us, and so very often, there were a lot of different stuff going on. But when you look at those guys, we had the exhibition about Solidarity period, and the martial arts that was introduced in Poland. And there were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stands and exhibits, which we had in St. Michael's in St. Munchin's Church in Limerick. And some of the Irish guys came over and said, if you showed me that picture, I would never, think it could possibly be Poland. I would be thinking it's Ireland back in the, 70s and
Yeah,
80s.
during
Because
the
they look
travels. Yeah.
totally, absolutely the same. So what is amazing for me, we're talking about this intercultural dialogue. But what is this intercultural dialogue about? What is it
I
that
think
happens here?
what is it? It's, it sounds very grand, intercultural dialogue, but for me, it's literally just giving people an opportunity to meet, Because when you think, you know, we've got, all of us got some like presumptions about other people and stereotypes, and you know, like that's just nature of human. We all have this. But I find it very often that the moment you meet the other person, you find out that's like, just as you say, we all just human beings that have got this same sharing experience, and cries and laughs and loves, you know. And I think just finding a moment, finding a space when you can have people that maybe would never meet otherwise, even for just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and on top of that maybe experience something like a exhibition, or you know, like with you play or whatever. I think that's great way of like, yeah, it's just giving people space for conversation, you know, like that, you know, giving them something to start talking about. Let's start talking about this picture that you're seeing, uh, but
And
then
what
maybe
do
you
they
will
refer
learn
to?
something about each other thanks to that.
Absolutely. I must say that because at the moment in Limerick, there is EVA International happening, which is a biennial of contemporary art. And if hopefully with now we have the good announcements that level 5 is lifting. So all of those
Yeah.
museums and galleries will be open again. So I do really encourage you to come and see it, because I was taking part in one of their projects when it was multinational project, and I was absolutely amazed by the idea that they got and that they actually did it, because they have made those in different languages. And we have different languages: Catalan, we have African, we have Irish, we have also Polish. That people talk about the experience of the exhibition, and they're talking their own language. So for me, whatever that project on its own, it's the best and the most beautiful intercultural dialogue that we can have, because you're essentially inviting other culture to reflect on something, but you allowing them to use their language, which is very essential. We know that there was a huge fight for Irish language in Ireland, and we know that those people were fighting hard to keep the language and what was going on. We were very unfortunate Polish people that we had 100, Poland did not exist on the map of Europe, of the world, for 100 years. And we were putting to death for using Polish. The same what Irish experienced. Okay, 100 years of non-existence of the culture in terms of officially. It was all happening underground and it was hidden and everything. And when you look at the language still survived, it's just amazing that people are so connected to their language. And intercultural writing for me essentially is like, you have to value the language of people, because the language is the culture, is the heritage. And the fact that we are fighting so hard for our children to know the language, you know, because they were born in Ireland, they are going to be raised in Ireland. The question of identity will kick in soon. Am I Irish? Am I Polish? Who am I?
Yeah.
Am I Polish and Irish? Who am I? Those are
Yeah.
very important questions, because they were Irish children born to Polish parents. They have both nationalities. So, you know, we're getting into this very interesting dilemma of a talk, identity.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, you
you know,
know, it's staggering. I was actually listening today, like I listen a lot of podcasts, and it was talking about actually the Irish culture, and how there are DNA evidence that the first Irish people came probably from Africa. But what I wanted to say, that's what in this podcast they were discussing about this, that, you know, like the notion of borders and nations, it's a very new notion. You know, people used to just travel and move around whenever they needed, because of the whatever the life brought to them. And you know, the identities were much more fluid, and we kind of almost like getting back to it, you know, after a few centuries of like being very close and nationalistic and borders and passports. With European Union, at least, it's becoming much more fluid again, which me and you are examples of that, because you know, we're not living for so many years in Poland. And you know, and as you say, there is a question of like, you know, we could questions like, what's our identity?
Mm.
Like soon
Cultural identity is amazing, and I think it's essentially very much connected with the culture, with the place that you're in, but also with much deeper aspect of who you are as a human, as me, Justina, yourself, as Aga, and if we deprive ourselves of this stereotype, if we get outside of the box and feel the freedom of being a human rather than a national Polish person or Irish person or whatever it is, then we're opening another discussion. And what both our organizations believe that we do is we're trying to bring people closer together in understanding that culture is something very unique and it needs to be preserved, but it's not exclusive.
no,
you
for
know
sure.
it's not
No, it's
exclusive.
and like what's the point of having this preserve? Like, who are you preserving it if you're not sharing it with someone else? Like it's gonna die out if you just gonna preserve that in a box. This is Polishness, and we just Polish people can. And as you're saying, like we will have to extend what Polishness, Irishness, or whatever means, because of like our children who are born to Polish parents, or like in my case, not even both parents are Polish. So like like, do we deny them this culture? Like, which so it can, like, it's fluid concept, and it cannot really be locked in a box and preserve like a pickle.
And the beauty of intercultural dialogue is that we were just, from my understanding, and not looking at the books or descriptions in the encyclopedia, is essentially a human being meeting another human being, with all the experiences, with all the heritage, and with everything that comes with that person, because every person has a different story. Everybody experienced something else, different traumas, different perceptions, different way of upbringing, different lectures and different stories that they've been, programmed in a way. So I believe that if we just bring people together, this is when you just leave them themselves. You don't have to do much. Just allow
Well,
them to be
I would
themselves.
say to that as well that there's one very important element, and I think you can go with that, which is respect.
Mm.
Which I think, because you can bring people together and they can have a conversation, but it is very, and like, I feel it's almost like like, I don't know, maybe I'm watching too much news and getting pessimistic, but like, it's lacking a little bit those days, the respect to other human being, and the respect to this, that we are different, as you say, and that doesn't mean worse, or or I'm better or you worse and stuff like that. We are who we are, and that's fine. And so yeah, I would say respect, it's very important for that. And I live in a places that work not that well uh, on the multicultural dialogue, and I live in places that were working amazingly when it comes to, like, different nationalities living together. And I need to say that the biggest difference was respect to each other. Like that. My neighbor doesn't speak my language, doesn't eat the same that I do, doesn't believe in the God that I do, but I respect him nevertheless. So that's what I would say, that it's very important as well, and that's what we're trying to show in our work as well. That it's not only a meeting place, but it's the place when you will be respected, and we should respect others.
I'm very happy that you have mentioned that, because I think in this whole world, respect and tolerance, but different people take different, the word tolerance, they interpret it in a different way. I would much more prefer to use the word respect, because that essentially doesn't deprive you of your humanity and the way that you are allowed to feel this way, and you are allowed to be who you are, and who else can tell you who to be? So It's very interesting, and I think we could go on forever about,
For sure.
discussing.
Yeah.
And I do believe that it's not the first and last meeting that we are having together, and
Hopefully.
there will be a lot of fantastic projects that we will enter together. And looking at our organizations, Polish Arts Festival is essentially about very much artistic approach to life, and supporting Polish artists, supporting people that are so creative, and very often they do not have the platform for showcasing or collaborating. And collaboration, that's another word that is close to my heart. And as respect and collaboration, because I
Well,
believe.
I think like our like as we work over the years, like you could see probably of even during my presentation, as we move, like the collaboration becoming the biggest part of our work, I need to say. And right now, like with the last project, the integration through culture, like the Irish partners are literally is it's half half Polish and Irish
Mm,
partners, and it works well,
absolutely.
and we really love that, and we would like to continue work within that style, because it just like there's no point to, like as you say, just be for yourself, and and people wants to work together, and people are interested in working together. And I think it's just so important right now, when everybody else media and tells us that we are divided, but I don't think so. When
Mm.
you go to your community, I don't find it division, I find like a lot of connection. So um
And
it's
mutual
that's
understanding,
yeah.
essentially from the human being contact, and in perspective, human being perspective. Aga, thank you so much for
You're
accepting.
welcome, Justina. It was a pleasure.
I think we could be going on forever. And
Oh
if
yeah,
there
don't.
are
Um,
questions, or if you would like to get involved in any of the organizations, either Bardzo Ładnie or Polish Arts Festival, we will leave the links in our live stream videos sharing. And you can also contact us through the websites of both organizations. So if you're interested in joining us for the projects, or supporting us as a partner, or in any way and merit, then you're very welcome. Also, we are always looking for volunteers, and we are
yes,
always
that's
looking for
true.
people that would love to share our passion for culture.
Yeah, new ideas, volunteers, or if you just, just we love to meeting new people. So definitely, I second you there, Justina,
Great.
to get in touch. Perfect. Thank you
Now
for having me
we're
then.
gonna
And
end live streaming now, and we're just gonna move into the private room if there is any questions or comments or anything. So I thank you so much for joining us today. That was the very last, and not the very last, but one of the last events of the Polish Arts Festival. And at 8 p.m. we're joining Adriana Laube and her night painting session at the very last event this evening. And then you can enjoy the exhibition on its own on our website. It's all virtual or online. We're missing you. We're missing human contact, but we decided not to give up. So only now I have to say, and thank you to my husband, who has been so helpful and minding all three of our guys, because we essentially now are broadcasting this from our homes. So thank you, Maine.
I second that to my husband and to your husband for letting you for 4 days,
4 days.
abandon your family.
Absolutely right word, but it's all working for the well and good for us all. So I just want to say how much I appreciate his hard work. Yeah, and that positive accent, we will be finishing our live broadcast, and we'll be staying in our
Absolutely.
webinar room for a few more minutes. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely evening.
Bye. You'll get into good books of your husband.
Oh gosh, he doesn't have Facebook. He quit Facebook. He doesn't like it. So maybe somebody will tell him. Otherwise, you will never believe me.
We'll send him recording.
To send him recordings. Listen, that was the stuff. Now, Ivona, Carolina, Tom, Connor, if you want to come in, if you want to switch on your cameras and microphones, if you want to come in for a few seconds just to have a bit of a chat, then you're very welcome. There's nothing I can do on my side. You need to switch on yourself, or if you want to leave the comment here in the box, or raise any question, or just say something, that would be lovely.
Ivona can tell me, am I fired? After that.
Well, listen, if she fires you, you're in here, so don't worry.
Good to know that I'm not gone. Hello, Connor.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, Aga.
I know this man.
Yeah.
How are you?
How are you?
I meant to join at 6. I lost track of time, so I only joined around 5:30.
Oh, you missed the best part.
But
No,
if
it's
you go
okay.
to Facebook, and if you go to Facebook Polish Arts Festival, you can then view the whole webinar, because we've been live streaming, and later on it will be available on YouTube. But for now, it was just Facebook.
Yeah,
I was just blabbing around,
video.
Connor,
So,
about all the things that we were doing while running around Galway. I know Connor from Galway. He used to live in Galway as well, and now it's Midlands resident, just like me.
Yeah.
Mingar. Midlands rules.
And how is that? How does it feel to leave Galway? Do you feel like
with Galway, people in Galway are so transient, where I don't even know anyone who lives there anymore.
Yeah, to be honest.
Because everyone, they'll live there for a year or less, and then they move on somewhere else. It's the type of person who moves there is the type of person who's always coming and going to different places.
So Galway is very much particular, is it?
It is. Like, I'm sure you've got people who live there, like, more stable, but when you think about this, how many students and young people are coming there every year, so it's, it is very flexible in that way, so and very international for that reason, probably, as well. It was the same when I was living in London. You literally constantly had friends coming and going, and it was just like tiring after some time, to be honest. I lived
in myself for many years, and I must say, when I moved to Ireland first, that was some experience, because when I moved to Limerick and I was missing London for the first year, I was really like a bit depressed, to be honest, comparing London to Limerick. But then when I actually looked at it from the distance, that what kind of a job I had in London and what kind of a job I had in here, my living conditions, my flat even, and the fact that what I could afford, and the way that people were treating me, and how welcoming the Irish people were. And it took me a trip to London again a year later, after I arrived, to actually realize that I don't really want to be living there.
I feel that the quality of life in Ireland is much better.
Here, but it took me a whole year of experience to just realize that what you are missing is not really what you're missing. I don't
know. What's your experience, Connor, coming from United States? Where do you find? How do you find the experience living in US and here? Yeah.
Well, I think it's a much slower pace of life, which I like.
For sure. But do you like that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's good. I do as well. As you say, like, I don't realize that something that you think you value so much, like busyness of big city, actually now I'm like, oh my God, how could I do that? Sometimes when I go to Dublin, it's too busy for me now. So.
Anyway, I introduced Tim Madden, who's put on your mic, Tibby. That is our development director, and he's a very good friend of ours, and he's been in working with Polish people since 2004, and just a very good friend and dear to our heart.
Hi,
and celebrating because Limerick have just beaten Galway in the hurling.
Ooh.
No way!
Yes.
Limerick won!
So we are in the All-Ireland. Go. So we play in the final in 2 weeks' time against.
That's one thing that I still yet to learn.
Okay.
What's the hurling, rugby, and all of these sports about? Like it's black magic.
Hurling, Aga, and hi Connor, is the fastest field game in the world.
Or is it?
It is like playing ice hockey on grass.
Oh wow. Well, I've got very limited and obscure knowledge because I'm actually a big fan of Limerick Citizen Blind Boy, and notoriously listening to his podcast.
Yeah.
And he has very interesting theories about hurling as being just a way to fight without fighting, like, so that's my knowledge about hurling, more or less. That's ends on this strange hot takes.
It's what we call like a warrior game. It's very tribal.
Yeah, he compares that to capoeira, like to Brazilian. It's like how it's developed to fight without fighting and dancing. That's what he says.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mention that, Justina, while you were saying you should come to Limerick, because me and Ivona, or Ivona and I, if I should say, decided that we need some break after the integration through culture finishes. And we were wondering where to go. And Limerick was on top of our list of places to visit. Because we were been in Dublin, we've been in Galway. And Limerick
You've never visited Limerick before, no?
No, I actually haven't, even though I've got just like an hour on the train.
Let's have a conversation. Come on, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Language is not a barrier. Remember that we can use the sign and Polish and everything we can. Tim speaks Polish, but you're very welcome then. And please do, ladies, let me know in advance because I have to plan and everything. But if you have coming in, myself and Tim will just welcome you so gladly, and we will have a tour around the town.
We were kind of waiting for, obviously being able to move and being able to see anything. So, hopefully maybe now. I'm based in Portlaoise, Tim. So
Portlaoise, very good.
Yeah, so, a short train journey, really.
Not too far, not too up in the Midlands of Ireland.
Yeah.
The beautiful parts of County Laois.
Yeah. So, maybe once, maybe before Christmas we manage. Hopefully nothing will
very good.
Change.
I was the founder of the Polish Limerick Football Club in 2007. So Polonia Limni FC. So Polonia, you'd understand, Limni is